TikTok, it's time to rock. Welcome to the channel, folks. Welcome to an episode where the rock professor isn't practicing limbo dancing. So he's middle of the screen. If you've been watching him the last few weeks, you no, he wasn't getting short because he was taking short pills or he was practicing limbo dancing. It was because of the angle of the camera, Brad.
Yeah, his head was getting lower and lower.
I know. Blooming last week, I noticed it half ago. You're off the bottom of the blooming thing, you lunatic. So, as you can see, I've managed to fix it for this week. It required a lot of AIing to work out what my problem was. Or I just
and that
moved
was,
the camera,
ladies and
so
gentlemen,
tilted down a bit.
If you want to know what the AI was, it's a cushion.
Yeah. No, it's not that. I just tilted the camera down a bit.
Oh!
That's it. That's all I had to do. Tilt the camera.
Tilt the camera. Get that angle right.
All my 40 years of IT experience to do that, let me tell you.
Well, thank you for getting front and center, a rock professor, because hopefully now when the StreamYard's edit machine edits our shorts, it's going to capture your handsome
Might be
face, as opposed to Brad and myself's awesome profiles. Thank you, boys, for joining us. Thank you, Hugh, for joining us last week as well. Was it last week? Yes, it was. Jeepers.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Jeepers.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hugh, for joining us. And Rock Professor and Brad and I look forward to talking to you about, as the Rock Professor said in a message to us, a contemporary album. So who would have thought, Brad, talking about the Rolling Stones and contemporary would have gone together in one sentence? It kind of sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it?
Yeah. Who would have thought? Contemporary album from a bunch of 80-year-olds.
I think the good thing is we combine our love of anything 60 years old with an up-to-date thing. So thank God they've been going for a long time, so we can pick. We know who they are, and we can pick something new by them.
So we look forward to talking about that. We've got a couple of things that we want to do before we pile in and rank the tracks and share our thoughts, obviously, with everybody that's joining us. And please do. Obviously, we look forward to hearing what you guys have to say about the tracks. It's not just Simon, Brad, and Andrew's opinion that matters here on the channel. Yours is just as important, probably more important.
Probably more.
So we do look forward to sharing those thoughts too, live with you, and also if you want to leave some comments later on when you're watching some of our shows. But there's a couple of things we want to do. A shout out the Rolling Stones, #1 arch rival for a long time in the 60s, Brad. This band here, a little Liverpool band, Simon.
A little old combo from Liverpool. Yes, there they are. The four-headed monster.
Today celebrated the 60th anniversary, guys, of the famous Candlestick Park gig that they did, famously known for their last commercial gig. And if you look at some of the photos and the footage, and obviously we've had time over the years to hear their accounts, it was greeted with a lot of excitement by the Beatles, Brad and Simon. They were keen to hang up their touring shoes and their guitars and get into the studio and do something else in their career, and we'll always be grateful for them making that decision. So thank you, Beatles.
Yeah.
Brad,
I know.
What you got, brother?
Well, I mean, this week we lost the dear Dolly Parton, and I know she's not blues or, you know, she's a bit more country music legend, but you know, we lost her this week at the age of, was it 82? I think 82. Not sure actually, but yeah, so very sad to wake up to that news. I was watching something of Dolly Parton probably, you know, 3-4 days earlier. It's really
Mhm.
weird happened, and I was just incredibly blown away by um, the ease of her playing an acoustic guitar and singing with these shockingly long nails. They were like 2 inches long. And the way she was doing it, I was just like, that's insane. I couldn't believe it. And she was just singing and playing. I thought at first she wasn't actually playing. I thought she was miming the guitar, but she was actually playing it, finger picking
She's a
it,
player.
and singing like just like nothing, like it was so easy for her. And you know, when we look at all of her achievements, I've got a few things listed here. 11 Grammy Awards, including a Lifetime Achievement Award. You know, she wrote some timeless classic songs like Jolene, 9 to 5, and the huge one, I Will Always Love You. She was a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee. She starred in movies, 9 to 5 and Still Magnolias. And she founded an imagination library giving millions of free books to children, supported education, literacy, medical research, disaster relief, and many other causes. She quietly helped countless people and communities through her life and always believed in giving back and helping those less fortunate. You know, she was a woman of strong Christian faith, and you know, she often used to say she prayed every day to ask God to guide her and help her use her gifts to help others, and she certainly did that. So farewell, Dolly Parton, and yeah, very, very sad news to wake up to that the other morning.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
definitely a huge influence on a lot of people. My mum
Mm.
especially had a soft spot for Dolly Parton. I grew up listening to her music. I have to
Mm.
back up with what you said there too, Brad, about her being an exceptional guitar player. If you go and check out some early videos that she did on the Porter Wagner show in the 1970s, where she became really, really famous. There's a lot of clips of her playing that acoustic guitar. So, you know, she was the real deal. She wasn't miming. She
No.
wasn't, you know, like these internet guitar players today that mime.
Yeah. She was extremely talented.
Simon.
And I think every schoolboy, you know, in my era and our era had a crush on Dolly at some point. So, you know, our teenage crushes were Dolly Parton, you know, and, you know, she was an exceptional talent and a real blessing. So
I
God
watched a
bless
clip of
Dolly.
her talking about uh, Whitney Houston, who I Will Always Love You, the song that you mentioned, and how she was just absolutely, Simon, blown away when she first heard Whitney's version of her song. She
Yeah,
just
she's in the
absolutely
car, wasn't
loved
she?
it.
She's in the car
She,
when she heard it.
yeah, she was blown away, and she
Mm,
said it was incredible. And she said, and I made lots of money as well.
mm,
send him his checks. I'll be good. Yeah, I like the other. Two things that I saw that. Sorry, one is her talking about composing 9 to 5 and rattling her nails.
Yes,
Because it sounded like a typewriter key. I thought that was pretty cool to give us a rhythm,
incredible.
which is great fun. And also, I saw a clip of her on David Letterman singing with Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris. They were doing Neil Young's Harvest.
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. That
And
was.
Brad, you were talking about schoolboys and what schoolboys were thinking. You know, and you mentioned a couple of films that she was. Don't forget the film, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. She was in that film as well. So
Yeah.
that's
You
an
had to
incredible
go
film
there.
too. It's an incredible film.
Yeah. But Actually, I love I won't go on too much longer because I know we've got a long show ahead of us. But the interview I saw of her where she was talking about how Elvis was going to record her song "I'll
Yeah.
Always Love
Yeah.
You," and
Yeah.
yeah, and right up until the ninth hour, I think it was the night before, she was so excited that Elvis was going to record her song that she'd released and was already famous for and popular for. And
He would have done a great job.
he would have done an amazing job. And I could just imagine him singing it, to be honest with you. And then right at the last minute, the Colonel, Elvis's manager, said that we want half the publishing, and she disagreed to that. She said, I can't do that. And well done to her for being
good,
standing up to that and not being bullied into, a publishing deal where Elvis got 50% of the royalties for her song. So, however that would have worked, I'm not sure the business side of that, but if that was the case when Whitney Houston recorded it, Elvis would have got royalties then as well. That's how it would have worked, I think.
Which is unfair. But
yeah, of course, it was Dolly's
song.
Dolly had made the deal all the time.
If Dolly had made the deal, that would have been okay. But it just seems unfair to me that how can you, as a songwriter, as a non-songwriter, claim 50% or something that you didn't write? It's just Anyway, we've got a show to do. But thank you, Brad. That's a very, very good point. Very good point. And next time when we do the history of rock and roll recording artists or something like that, or recording studios or something, it's a good point we could use as a example of what you could do and what you can't do. Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Islands in the Stream Exactly was written by the Bee Gees, made famous by Kenny Rogers and her. Gosh, that song was everywhere in the early 1980s here in this country. Everywhere.
Likewise here, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't think much of it until they got her to do it as well. He said she transformed it completely. I've got a couple of quick announcements. This day in 1990 was the last day that Stevie Ray Vaughan was on the planet. Sadly, he was 35 years old, and just getting going, really, considering what we're doing today. But 1990, and also this week we lost Tim Curry, best known for his role in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But actually, I don't know if people know this, probably people do know this, a much closer connection to this show in that he wrote a song called Slow Gin, which is Joe Bonamassa's kind of show-stopping, show-closing song that he does. And he does a fantastic version of it, Bonamassa. And clearly, Mr. Bonamassa is one of the pillars of this show. So hats off to Tim Curry for writing such a great song, and hats off to Joe for a really great version of it as well.
Yeah. Thank God bless. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Incredible. All right, boys, we're going to kick off the show if that's okay. So this week we're ranking foreign tongues, and I'm going to be ever grateful to Mr. Wikipedia for these notes, because you cannot deny the information that's contained on that incredible website. But according to Mr. Wikipedia, Brad and Simon, the 25th British release and the 27th American studio album by the band. It was released on the 10th of July this year, produced by Andrew Watt, who was familiar with us because he produced Simon the last album, didn't he? Hackney Diamonds.
He did, yeah. Yeah.
So he's been brought back on board because obviously he had an effect with the guys, which is always a good thing. Good to see that relationship continue. This album is notable because it features musical contributions, Brad, from a host of guys, and I'm going to name them. Steve Jordan, which is obviously the drummer of the band, Daryl Jones, the bass player of the band, Steve Winwood, Simon, Robert Smith from The Cure. Now, I adore The Cure, and if you told me 5 years ago that Robert Smith was going to play guitar on a Rolling Stones album, Brad, I would have said, I would have sworn at you. No way was this ever going to happen. But, just don't say no, I suppose, because things can happen. Sir Paul McCartney has come back on this album as well. Ben Montench, most famous for being the keyboardist in the Tom Petty band, the Heartbreakers. Bruno Mars, Chad Smith, and also there's a track that features a song that includes a Charlie Watts drum track. So I don't want to get bogged down with too much information, other than I'm going to say this, and I didn't realize this, but this album was recorded in 2019, 2021, 2022 to 2023, and 2025 and 2026. So there's 4 chapters of Rolling Stones' recent history contained in this album, which I thought was an interesting thing, because I wasn't aware of that until, again, I went to Mr. Wikipedia, Brad. So, I don't know if that has an effect on the album as far as listening to it, but interesting. Guys, I listened to it when it came out on Spotify. I listened to the singles that were being released. I listened to what the Rolling Stones had to say about the album, because of social media. So I was anticipating it, and spent some time, probably listened to it a couple of times. And so here we are ranking the tracks. So Brad, your thoughts on when did you discover this album?
Well, when it came out, guys. It was one of those ones that I didn't realize. It wasn't that long ago that it came out. I mean, it feels like it's been out forever, but you listen to it and it's very familiar. And it's one of those albums that, it is a recent release, and you're not as familiar with it. So listening to it to rank it, it's very odd. I'm finding it odd to do that with new albums.
Yeah, awesome. Simon,
I've been listening to it since 1982.
Good point. Well done. I know where you're going.
You know what I mean?
I'm actually going to say 1972.
Yes, slightly, but no, I think it's an absolute joy to do some new stuff, and the old boys are still doing it, and I think they absolutely should be still doing it. Should absolutely be out there still doing it. If you're a musician, get on and make some music, And I think that they've managed to find in Andrew Watt somebody who can hoof them into the right place, and I think that for myself, he's done a fantastic job with Hackney Diamonds and this record in getting them back on track, really.
Yeah.
I think that they've done a lot of self-production, haven't they, in the past? And I think that, like many bands, what they need is somebody who isn't them to control it and push them a bit. But it's really nice to do something new and relevant. Well, I hope it is.
Yeah,
and it's been great. I've really enjoyed it this week. It's been fantastic.
Cool. So we've got 14 tracks to dig through. So before we do that, we've got a couple of cool cats in the chat. And as ever, before we start the show proper, the rock professor, the world champion limbo dancer of the channel.
Stupid idiot. Yes. Adjusting his camera. It's really technical. It's really difficult. Anyway, so we should say good morning to Jim, just under 50. Hugh Caldwell, thanks for last week, Hugh. Fantastic show. Really enjoyed having you on. And let's do it again soon. Ellen as well. Morning, Ellen. Hope you're good. Things are good in your world. Gretch Zeppelin. Morning, Gretch. Gretch asked a question about the cover. The album cover is a 2025 pastel drawing by American artist Nathaniel Mary Quinn, whose work has been described as fractured, dreamlike portraits which assemble identity from overlapping memories, emotions, and experiences. Taking inspiration from Francis Bacon, amongst other people, I think. So there we are. Great. That's what I've got. Good morning to you, Gretch. Morning, Quentin. Quentin James. Mars 6433. That's how far Mars is from anywhere. So good morning to you. I hope you're good. Gretch. What else do we have at the top? But, I think I'll get everybody. Jim, Ellen, Gretch. Yeah. So that's everybody who's made a comment, I think. So thanks all for joining. Good to see you all. And now, on with the show.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, guys, the first track is Rough and Twisted. Can I read my writing? Rough and Twisted?
Yeah, Rough and Twisted.
What I like about this track, guys, it's, that gritty blues, something that you associate, instantly in my mind with the Rolling Stones. Cool riffs, Brad. I love the slide guitar that's on this track, the harp especially as well, and we can talk about the harp a little bit more as we dig a little bit deeper on some of these other tracks after this. Love the reference to Muddy Waters, Simon. The Rolling Stones wouldn't be the Rolling Stones without making any kind of reference back to their heroes. And I just want to interject here, I uploaded a short that I pinched off the Eric Clapton website, where Eric Clapton is talking about his role in spreading the word of Robert Johnson. And if he's proud of one thing, it's that thing. And we've spoken at length many times, the three of us and lots of other people. If it wasn't for the Rolling Stones and Keith Richards and Eric Clapton, we wouldn't have heard these guys. I wouldn't have known about Muddy Waters. I wouldn't have known about Robert Johnson. So, all credit to them. And we're giving that credit back to the Rolling Stones in a sort of kind of circular way. So, well done, Rolling Stones, for doing that. Look, I really dig this track, Brad. I've read a couple of criticisms from a lot of people on the internet, and some people have criticized this track because it's overproduced. Look, I don't think it is, and we can talk about that a little bit more on some other tracks if you want. But it's a modern album. It's a modern when I say modern album, it's modern techniques that have been employed. And they're trying to capture everything that's going on, all the layers. And so the Rolling Stones, from what I understand, are very happy with this track and this album. I've given this a solid 9 out of 10, guys, and it's never a skip.
Yeah, well,
Bradley?
Is it Simon, isn't it?
Oh, Simon. Sorry.
Yeah.
my apologies.
Whatever. Yes. I thought it was going to be me, but doesn't matter.
The world champion limbo dancer.
Yeah. I'm back. Look, there's more of me than just my head, the dismembered head at the bottom of the screen.
Honey, we shrunk the rock, Professor.
Fantastic. Yes. So I completely agree with you, Andrew. It's got that driving modern blues vibe to it, the modern Stones. Starts off with typical Keith groove, and then Ronnie kind of joins in, answering it back. They got us into straight away. You're into that Stones territory of the intertwined guitars, the call and response stuff, very, very blues orientated. And as you say, I didn't feel that. I've not read that criticism, by the way, and I didn't think that I didn't think that it, yes, it sounds modern, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. You are where you are with technology and things, and as you say, the interplay between Ronnie and Keith is great. It's got a really big drum sound to it, which is very modern. Great vocals, great slide guitar, and lead lines, played all the way through. Nice heart work from I presume it's Mick, but it's it's a great opening track. It says what the album is going to be, says what its core, where he is at its core, where it is at its core, where the band are, which is in that blues territory, that sort of modern urban blues that they do now. I too gave it a 9 out of 10 and never a skip. I think it's a great opening track. Brad.
Rough and Twisted. I mean, for me, this is a statement of intent. This is the Stones basically saying, "We're not easing you into this album. This is us now." They're not, they're giving it all their oomph in the first song. They're going for it. They're not going to sort of put the handbrake on and ease you into it. They're in fifth gear. They're going for it at this stage. It's got that real dirty blues rock territory they've owned forever. And there's a real aggression to it. I mean, Keith and Ronnie, they're not demonstrating virtuosity. They're creating that interlocking guitar magic. And the rhythm and the riff is almost like one instrument. It's unreal. I love how this song sounds. I love the production. I think, if you're going to compare this with Exile on Main Street production-wise, you're talking many decades later technology. A lot of records that come out in this day and age sound too overproduced. This one still has a bit of earthiness to it. I dig that. And but they're modern sounds, and it's a different drummer, different bass player, and it's going to have a slightly different sound to earlier Stones records. But I too haven't heard a lot of controversy about this in particular, but I find, look, this is where Keith Jagger sounds fantastic. I think that he's got a swagger there going on. It's got a real nasty edge to the vocal as well. They've put a really sort of grit on it, which I love that. And it doesn't sound like an 80-year-old band to me. They still sound young. It doesn't sound like they're trying to be young. They still sound young, and that's a common theme I find across the record. It's I think music and writing and recording and performing, and that keeps people young. It keeps them, on edge musically. And honestly, I think they did a phenomenal job on this record in the sense of, where they're at their age and what they're achieving. It's it's sad to think that it's really 3 Rolling Stones members left on this record, but it still sounds like the Rolling Stones. It's great. This song in particular, I think it's a great opening track. And I said to the boys in the green room beforehand, I didn't want to rank this, and I never do this. I never rank albums against previous recordings from an artist. I rank the album true to the album. And I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. It's a really strong start to the album. Andrew.
Thanks, mate. KXM Rock, good to see you, brother. Released on the 10th of July. That's correct.
Morning,
wow,
KXM.
and you didn't know that. So, yeah, who would have thought, mate, contemporary and Rolling Stones in one sentence? Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys, for your comments on your opening track. The next track that we're going to talk about is In the Stars, and I won't bore you with some details that happened with my technology earlier today, but if my memory serves me right, this was the lead single off the album, and this was the song that got me going, because it's that classic open G Keith Richards riff. It's indescribable when you hear it. You know it's Keith Richards, and I think that's one of the great things that a guitar player can leave in his or her legacy, guys. You know, if they can do other things with their legacy, that's great. But if you're a guitar player and you can identify, you know, straight away with a couple of notes, Brad, you know, who the artist is. You know, we just spoke about Stevie Ray Vaughan passing away. You know, he's one of those guys as well. You know straight away, you know, when they play who it is. So that's what really got me cooking about this album, because wow, I was blown away by it. Co-written by Andrew Watt, the producer, who was involved in co-writing credits on the previous album as well. So again, that relationship that Andrew has with the Rolling Stones is crucial. And we're going to talk a little bit about what Andrew does for the Rolling Stones a little bit later, if you weren't aware of what he does besides, you know, producing stuff for them. You know, people have described this as modern pop for the Rolling Stones. I get that. Modern pop for the Stones, you know, because back in 1972 it would have been pop music, Brad. You know, it would have been, you know, on FM radio or AM radio, whatever the broadcast was. It's a polished track, and I love that. But still, definitely the Rolling Stones. I've given this a Brad score. I love it. It's 4 minutes and 12 seconds of complete and utter joy. Simon.
Yeah, couldn't agree. Starting off, I think that it's like track 2, straight into that typical Stones riff. You know, after you've got that kind of piano and the angelic kind of humming sort of bit that's, you know, then you're straight into that Stones riff with the vocals and the caller response with the guitars. The humming chorus, I think, is a reminder that, you know, the verse is very kind of straight ahead, but the chorus with that humming is like a pure pop melody. Really, is a pure pop thing, and you know, they have a head for the melody, the Stones. You know, and I think, you know, the tracks on this album, tracks on the last album, absolutely prove that. You know, that I don't know if Mr. Watt is dragging that out of them or how he's doing it, but you know, very impressed by that. Love the guitar soloing interweaving towards the end. You know, yeah, another really strong, you know, the first 2 songs very Stones, this one a bit less blues based, but still in that Stones riff thing. So you know, absolutely setting out your stall, aren't you, as a band with an album. I gave it 9.5 out of 10 and never skipped. Brad.
In the Stars, well, if the last song, you know, is anything to say, I mean, there's a bit of DNA there from Exile Main Street, Some Girls, and Black and Blue. This one sounds like it's something from Tattoo You or Undercover with a modern edge. It's obviously the big single, as Andrew said, and at first it sounds almost like a, you know, 80s Stones pop rock, and then the chorus opens up and there's a surprisingly melodic sort of quality to it. The backing vocals, they lift it. Keith's guitar, you know, as you mentioned, Andrew, it really lifts and pulls it back into the Stones territory for me. It's one of those songs that could easily work in a stadium. Like, you can imagine them performing this, and I don't know if they've actually performed this yet live, guys. I'm not sure that they have, but I can imagine this one would really sound phenomenal live. Interesting thing, it's catchy without becoming overly polished. It's got a really clean tone to it overall, and I totally dig it. I think it's probably one of the best songs on the album, without a doubt. It's a 100 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah. No, I don't think they've played any of these songs with Keith, and I haven't heard anything about them doing a tour. But we'll keep an eye on that, because even if they go into a 12 city tour or something like that, Simon, it's still going to be an event, isn't it?
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, Keith was a bit against doing another long tour, wasn't he?
Correct.
I seem to remember that he wasn't that keen on it. So I hope they do some gigs and something to, work out how to do it so that Keith is not away from home too long. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I think you work out your touring schedule to suit your age and what you want to do, really. But I hope they do something.
Awesome. The third track, boys, is a song called Jealous Lover. And when I first heard this track, I was immediately captivated by the vibe, and that essence, that the song encapsulates. Because if you're a long-time Stones fan, like a lot of us here, you'd be thrown back in time, and that's always a good thing to, great songs like Miss You and Emotional Rescue, Simon and Brad, that disco, and I mean that respectfully when I say that disco era of the Rolling Stones, because they encapsulated it, and reggae and punk in that late 70s period. They were doing everything, and the fact that they're going back and mining that, something that they contributed 40, 50 years ago, is again incredible. I love the cool guitar work by Ronnie on this track especially. It's Ronnie, don't you? Again, you can hear his contribution as a standout. It's an incredible track. I've given this a 10 out of 10. Originally it would have been 9, but just listening to it again today, and that nostalgic appeal to what the Stones were on some of these other great previous albums is incredible. Rock Professor.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I was straight there, straight in that disco groove, straight into Shades of Fool to Cry and that era Stones, and as you say, the interweaving guitars again at the beginning, continuing that theme on from the first 2 tracks. But this is the first track where you're sort of deviating out into a different part of the Stones' history, and I think it's that they've done so much, haven't they, in terms of styles and things that all these songs hark back to parts of the Stones' career. And as I say, for me, this harks back, as you said, Andrew, to this kind of early 80s disco, Fool to Cry. I love the falsetto vocals, the bits of falsetto that Mick does. I think he's a fine voice on this record, singing really well, and singing as well. I know, Andrew, in the past you've kind of made some, you've talked about the way that he got into that kind of semi-talking, drawling kind of thing. Well, he seems to be a long way from that on these tracks for sure. Great backing vocals as well, singing hands off. Again, just a really good, smart version of a disco record, and right up there for me. 9 out of 10 and never a skip. Absolutely. Brad.
Jealous Lover. Definitely into classic Stones territory here. I mean, this has got that sleazy, soulful side to the band. Jagger playing that emotionally insecure character voice in the way he does that and portrays that. There's a real looseness to this, which makes it, feel like the band could have knocked this out probably in a couple of takes. I don't know about that, but it sounds like it's fairly much like running it live and getting it right. And there's some imperfections there at some points, but Jagger's the way he sings it and acts it reminds me of like that Emotional Rescue sort of thing. Emotional Rescue, Some Girls album. It's sort of back in that DNA of the Stones territory, but bringing it forward into 26, which is a few decades later. And I think it's a great song. I've listened to this album quite a bit this week, and originally, I wasn't sure about this song. It didn't really sit 100% comfortably with me at first, but I'd definitely give it an 8.5 out of 10, guys, and never skip. Andrew.
No problem, and I'm glad that you guys have made reference to that falsetto, and Alan has made a comment too. Fool to cry. When Jagger's singing in that high falsetto, it's incredible. And he's doing it on this. I have to stick up for myself though when the rock professor cast a comment attributed to me. Which might be a little bit incorrect. So, but I have to. If the rock professor needs to be corrected, he must be corrected. So
I'm never wrong, surely.
When Mick is singing in the studio, he is singing. But certainly when he's been touring, he's been got a different voice.
Okay.
Yeah. It's that touring voice that he has where he raps a little bit. But that's one of the great things that we like about these albums, because he is singing, and we noticed that remarkably on the Hackney Diamonds album, especially when we ranked that. So and that's another cool thing about this track.
I was 3/4 right.
Yes. We're only doing that for intellectual and academic posterity, and just in case people make a reference to what the rock professor said, Brad,
later on,
30, or
incorrectly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the next track is Mr. Charm. So I'm going to talk about politics here, but not really talking about politics, because it's important that we don't talk about politics, but we do on this channel. And you go, where's this dude going with this comment? But one of the great things about this track, it's fast-paced, Brad, and it's it's a cynical observation by Mick Jagger about tech billionaires. And if you go and listen to the lyrics, there's a comment there about the mad mogul Mr. Musk, and and that's cool and that's fine, and he's talking about that. And there's another political track that's on this album. Well, you can deem it political if you want. And this is one of the things that I love about the Rolling Stones, is they've never shied away from talking about political things in their songs. And they leave it there at that. They tried to ask Mick Jagger a couple of weeks ago about, why doesn't he be more political and stuff like that? And he stands up and says, well, we don't want to be. We want to just entertain people. And if you go and if Street Fighting Man makes you want to get out there and protest the government, that's fine. We're not going to. But we're singing about what we're observing when we see what's happening on the streets of Paris in '68. And this is what I love about the Rolling Stones now. They're seeing how tech moguls and tech billionaires and are having an effect on the world around them. Eric Clapton did the same thing with Van Morrison a couple of years ago, spoke about political things. Now, whether you agree with that or not, that's fine, but they leave it to the song, and that's what I dig about it. So you go and get your own interpretation. So one of the reasons why I love the Stones, because they're not going to be drawn into elaborating, any meaning behind the song, unless it's obviously about a girl.
No surprises there.
Which still might get you into trouble. Cool guitars, Brad and Simon, on this track. I love it. Having said that, though, it's a 7 out of 10 for me. It's a good, solid, album filler for me. Never a skip, Simon.
No. I mean, yeah. Again, this is back to the Stones in their kind of rock mode.
Current events. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So absolutely current events. Got to reflect the world that that you're in at some point, haven't you? With some things. I think it's got a great riff. I like the verses being semi-spoken, and then the chorus is being very much sung choruses. So that contrast between the two parts. Nice guitar solo and a nice string scrape to go into it. That's always cool. And the guitars intertwined at the end. Yeah, another great track, great melody, and harking into their more rock things. I gave it a 9 out of 10 and never a skip. Brad.
Well done.
Mr. Charm. This one is like a Mick Jagger theatre. I can picture him stalking around on stage performing this one. It's already in my head. I can see it. It's got that real strut about this song. It's real Stonesy persona. It's got that, cool guitar playing, and it's got a lot of that Stones charm to it, which the DNA for it, it's only rock and roll. Some girls, it's got that sort of thing to it, with a modern twist. I enjoy the guitar solo is really cool too. It's a bit of a classic in my eyes. It's going to be considered a bit of a classic. It's got a lot of attitude, and without sort of repeating everything you guys have already said, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10 and never a skip. Andrew.
Well done. Thank you, guys. I'm just looking for my notes here. Just hold on, guys, because I had an issue with some updating, some information. So we are now talking about Divine Intervention.
We are.
Yep.
Right. So this is the track that I mentioned in the intro. Which is amazing because it's the track that features Robert Smith, guys. The original goth rocker. Guy that wrote Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, the album, A Forest, the album Disintegration. These incredible post-punk albums, and Wish that came out in 1991. We were talking about some albums, Brad, that came out in 1990, 1991. Add Wish to that crop of 1991 albums that came out.
Yeah.
Just an incredible songwriter, an incredible musician. If you know anything a little bit about me, I dig The Cure, and one day we're going to do a Cure show on here. We're going to talk about The Cure for a couple of hours. And I just think his contribution to this is 5 minutes. It's just incredible. It's been called a masterpiece. The layers, the moody guitars, the interweaving of the guitar playing on this track. Brad, you've got a chorus uni vibe intro going on there. It's just I'm going to leave some room for you guys, but it's exactly what I thought something like this would have been if I thought about a contribution of Robert Smith. It's just incredible. Please go and check it out and see if you can, if you weren't already aware of Robert Smith, and see if you can work out what he's doing, his contribution on this track. I think it's an incredible track. Disintegration is flawless. Boy, Hugh, you are right. It's a masterpiece. They did a re-release of it a couple of years ago, an anniversary release. Oh, anyway, I'm just okay. Sorry.
Fanboying on The Cure. We're not here for The Cure, Dr.
No,
Walton.
we're not here for The Cure. I'm giving this a Brad score. It's an incredible track, and thank you, Robert. And apparently, the story goes they they met in the hallway of the recording studio. So it wasn't anything that was done by the management or something like that. And again, forgive me because I lost my notes if I'm relying on my memory, but maybe you guys can help me. Originally, Robert turned them down or something, or couldn't do it, or couldn't make it, or something when they tried to hook up, but did, and apparently is really, really happy and glad that he hooked up with them. Simon.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's. Could I say that I'm not sure that you would know if it was Robert Smith on this. I think one of the interesting things about this record is that there's a lot of people on it, aren't there? I mean, for instance, Steve Winwood is all over it in terms of playing the organ on half the tracks, playing the Rose, playing the piano on, half a dozen tracks. It's amazing to me that, but actually, I mean, not that it matters. I'm all for doing a bit of, but I couldn't tell from this that it was Robert Smith playing on it, and I couldn't tell you what he did, if he did that kind of, as you say, Andrew, that phaser effect at the beginning. Is that him? Is that? I mean, I don't think it matters really. The Stones do what the Stones do, and you fit in with it, don't you? It's I kind of feel like that with Paul McCartney and the track he's on. If you hadn't told me, I never would have known. And
and that's
which
okay.
is fine.
That's good.
It's fine. No, it's completely fine that that everyone fits into what the Stones do. I think that the Stones always have a kind of keyboard player, don't they? Somebody, like they've had
They've got to have
in
one.
the past, Ian Stewart. Yeah, they have to have one. And on this one they've got some bloke called Steve Winwood. So is he any good? Which I think is fantastic, and I think it's all that organ stuff, in the background is all him. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So for me, this is it's a great track, and it's got that phaser riff at the beginning to kind of into sort of two chords verse. Again, in the chorus, Jagger using his falsetto, as a contrast to the verses. Some really nice. I think they're nice kind of jangly guitars in the chorus as well. There's really nice guitar sounds on this. As I say, I couldn't tell you if they're Robert Smith or not particularly, but great guitar solo, nice bluesy melodic guitar solo. I think they've worked on the guitar solos on this. I think there's lots, and introduction of horn section audible. I think there's if you have a look at what's on the tracks and stuff, I have to say I struggled sometimes with trying to hear the instruments that they were talking about on the tracks, but I was listening to it on headphones as well. But nevertheless, I mean, that's fine. It's kind of, but as I say, I like having the horn section. That reminds me of harking back to the sort of Brussels Affair and all those live, in Exile, where they had the horn sections kind of in the background, but backing them up. Yeah, great track. 10 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. Brad.
Yeah, it's a great guitar sound, Andrew and Simon. I really dig it, and the phasey sort of chorusy thing going on as well with the guitar. It's awesome. I love that, and it takes me back a little bit to earlier Stone stuff where they used the phase 90 and all that stuff as well, and got those really cool tones. You know what I mean? It takes you back a little bit as well. This is one of the songs that's got some more interesting lyrical content, in a sense, like viewed through Jagger's sarcastic lens, really. And I mean, he's very good at doing this throughout his career. He treats everything like catastrophe and stuff like that with humor and cynical, contrasting. And there's a cheerful musical approach to this, that what's going on, that classic Stone sound. And this is where the band, I mean, the age doesn't matter. They're just playing the song. They're literally, sounding like they're having a good time on this one. And the contribution of Robert Smith. I mean, if you listen to it and you really focus on it, and the first few times, Andrew, I didn't pay attention to who was actually on what track. I just listened to it, and I was listening
Me
to the
too.
songs as, the Stones, and then listening to it. If you're really paying attention, you can kind of work out what Robert Smith is doing. But I agree with you a little bit, Simon, in the sense where it doesn't really matter who's on it. It still sounds like the Rolling Stones. And I thought this was a great song. I gave it 9 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Andrew?
Fantastic, guys. Yeah. Yeah. So, like I say, go and check it out and see what you think. If you can hear Robert, because if there's one thing I think that might be influential, but there again, it goes back to Andrew being the producer. It is layered. There are some textures going on there with the guitars, and and that's definitely something that the Cure do. They inspired My Bloody Valentine to come out with their shoegaze masterpiece. So they can layer guitar textures. Next track is it Ringing Hollow?
'Tis indeed Ringing Hollow.
Again, if you're a Stones fan and you've listened to this track, you're well aware of what the Rolling Stones are when it comes to acoustic guitar music. Brad, it's called alternative country now, and the Rolling Stones were doing it back in 1968 with Beggar's Banquet. A couple of tracks on Let It Bleed, Faraway Eyes, on Some Girls, half the songs, Simon, on Exile on Main Street, have this acoustic ballad thing that the Stones do so well. And one of the reasons why I love the Stones, I remember when we did Beggar's Banquet, and we were just blown away by how acoustic and how earthy and how supernatural the sound was, and it was a tap back for the Rolling Stones, and it's considered a masterpiece today. So again, the Stones are mining, deep diving, Brad, into that vein, that they helped create, that has its own label, Brad and Simon, Old Country,
Old Country. Good.
Old Country. Whatever that means. But this track could have easily sat on Exile on Main Street for me. Simon, easily. I don't know the history of how far the song goes back. Being a recent album, we'll probably get that information, in future. But I just think it's an incredible track. Captures, the three Rolling Stones, well, the two that were back in the day when the Rolling Stones put this kind of music and popular music, just over 4 minutes. It's incredible. I've given this a Brad score. One of the highlights on the album for me, Simon.
Yeah, as you said, it's that Stones countryside, as you say, they all know the antecedents of that. You can trace it back through to Exile and Graham Parsons, who was on the Stones. So, and this is right in that vein. There's couple of acoustics, piano, bit of slide, nice bit of slide. I presume that's probably doing the slide, but I could be wrong. Just kind of some brushes, really, isn't it? It's not heavy on the rhythm section. So, but again, it's a great tune. It's got a tune. It's got a melody. It's got, and Jagger at his story, sort of shaggy dog storytelling best on the lyrics. It's lots of fun with that. Very nice slide guitar solo. I'll just put slide guitar nice exclamation mark.
Yeah.
See, but you know, and then at the end where the guitars are soloing under the vocals and things, it's you know, classic Stones country. I give it 9 out of 10, but never a skip. Brad.
Yeah, Ringing Hollow. It's one of the albums, you know, country western vibes, and I mean the Stones are, you know, in their histories they've always done something like this, thrown a country alternate. What did you call it, Andrew? Alternate country.
Alt country.
Alt country. Yeah, alt country. I'll have to try and remember that moving forward. There's the song. You know, it's got a really cool, really light, laid back guitar vibe going on there. The relationship between Ronnie and you know, and Richards obviously is fantastic. I mean, that slide guitar track you mentioned that. I also mentioned nice slide guitar solo, Simon. So I think we might have similar things on our notes, but this is one that makes you say, you know, the Stones sets them aside from every other rock band when they do a song like this, and they've done it, you know, many times over now. And you know, this is like where they really sort of differentiate themselves from other bands of their era, where they would throw this sort of stuff in the alt country in there. I love the guitar weaving, you know, and the DNA from this. I mean, it does go back to the Exile Main Street sort of Sticky Fingers sort of era for me, and but it's got that modern twist to it. I too really enjoyed this song. I gave it 9 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Andrew,
cheers, brother. Yeah. And look, if you've invented the genre, there's nothing to stop you from going back to it. You know,
that's right.
Nothing. No one can call you. What's the word for being a copycat if you're copying yourself?
Well, clearly they enjoy playing that style of music too, Andrew. So, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And they've given it that authenticity, as the rock professor said. You know, the Rolling Stones studied the stuff in depth. You know, when they were touring the States early on, you know, they were looking for authenticity. Keith talks about it. That's one of the reasons why they love the blues, and realize on the same coin, on the other face, there is country music, which tells, you know, similar stories. So yeah, we dig that. Never Want to Lose You, Rock Professor.
Where are we? I've got my notes here. Never Want to Lose You. Yep.
Yeah. So we're never going to lose the Rock Professor again, and he's going to be sitting on that. What is it? What do they call those chairs that you get? Oh, a booster chair, a booster seat.
Booster.
Sorry.
Oh, it's like being back in school, isn't it? Sit up straight, boy.
He was slouching. He was going like this. He was
slouching. Lying down at the back.
See you later, Jim. Never Want to Lose You. Loads of energy on this song. I love Mick singing. Simon, we were talking about that a couple of tracks ago. One of the great things that we like about Mick when he's doing these studio albums is he has obviously that ability to take the time and work on that voice and reach those notes, you know, that a lead singer, you know, wants to feel satisfied, Brad, when he's doing it, and you feel that on this track. I like the fact that, you know, he talks about, you know, if things don't work out on this track, he reckons he'll sell a few guitars, Brad, you know.
Yeah.
Don't know if I agree with that. You know, there's other things I'd do before I'd sell guitars. Trust me. There's lots of things I'd do before I'd do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mick. Ah.
Yeah.
I'd have to sell off 50 fancy guitars. Oh, really? That's not happening. Yes, I'll sell the house first.
Yeah, well, Andrew already sells photos of his feet on the internet, so
Oh, dear. Only
Mate,
feet.
it's the
God.
it's the socks. It's the socks that gets the good money.
isn't that's what you do, the special request? You send socks, dirty socks to people, don't you?
Oh.
Anyway, let's bring it back.
Morning,
Hey,
Helene. Apologies, you had to hear
Oh.
portions of this.
Um, so what are we talking about?
Never
know.
want to lose you.
Don't know.
Pay attention, would you?
Oh, okay, right. I've just been busted nationally, internationally live.
Live on the internet.
And wife fronts. Okay, so we're back to Never Want to Lose You. So we've made the point that we would do other things and sell 50 guitars. Okay, so that's good. Robert Smith is on this track too, apparently.
Apparently,
Vocals.
thank you. Yes.
So
On
again,
synthesizers.
and playing keyboards. So go and check that out. I would never have. I can't pick that up. I can't work that out. But well done, Robert. You know, obviously he wanted to jump on and be part of creating some music, Brad, with legends, and took the opportunity. And why wouldn't you?
Well, yeah.
You know, it's a great song. You know, I love the lyrics. You know, the Rolling Stones have a sense of humour. They always have, and they don't mind talking about that. I've given it a solid 8 out of 10. It's never a skip, Simon.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it goes into that kind of 80s Stones riff, so kind of 80s Stones rock, kind of, you know, quite aggressive, quite upfront, bit like sort of undercover type thing. But again, it's, you know, the contrast between the verse and the chorus is really good. Got a drop down at about 1:38. You know, as a dynamic device that we know and love on this. Never want to, you know and love on this channel. And you know, you've got a bit of bass leads on it. Some great drumming work as well from Steve Jordan. Some nice backing vocals, and you've got sort of a call and response with the backing on the at the end. You know, I think it's a worthy little rock number from the Stones, as I say, harks back to their 80s thing. You know, it's got a chorus that's memorable, you know, so, which I feel is, you know, the Stones never forgot a memorable chorus. I gave it a 9 out of 10 and never skip. Brad.
Yeah. I Never Want to Lose You. It's this is the disco soul-y sort of Stones, you know, that we know so well. And bizarrely, obviously, every time the Stones go to this disco-y sort of soul vibe, it works. And there's the arrangement on this song. Simon, you touched on it, the contrast between the verses and the chorus. You know, it's a very Stones typical combination of that disco soul, the blend with the verses, the choruses are catchy, and the verses are catchy. In my opinion, there's always a catchy melody and everything. I think what I like about this is it shows the Stones aren't afraid to have fun, even at their age where they're at, and experiment. And obviously, you've seen a few different musical styles on this record already up to this point. I mean, you've gone from like a ball tearing sort of bluesy rocker at the start, and it goes, yeah, the country, the alt country vibe, and now back to disco and soul, which is like 80s. very 80s Stones sounding. I really enjoyed this, and it reminds me of that sort of emotional rescue, miss you sort of vibe. 9 out of 10, guys, and never skip. Andrew.
Awesome. I've got a couple of picks I'm going to throw up, guys. Haven't got a lot because I know we've got a few more tracks to do, but this is the album cover that the Rock Professor mentioned earlier in the chat, so I won't go over that again, but I'll just share something with you. Again, it's my own opinion. I don't like the album cover at all. It's look, art is in the eye of the beholder, I suppose. You either dig it or you don't. But it's certainly something that doesn't grab me and interest me as far as incredible Rolling Stones albums that they've had covers in the past. So I'd be keen to get your quick thoughts on this cover, Simon and Brad, before I flick through a couple of other picks.
Actually, I think it's quite representative of the Stones, to be honest, isn't it? It's all their different faces and patchworked into one portrait. So you've got bits of Keith, bits of Ronnie, bits of Mick, kind of patchworked into things. I think it in those terms about what the Stones, who the Stones are now. I think it's pretty representative of who the Stones are. And what we've talked about so far is that intermeshing of the three of them sitting down and recording, writing, doing what they do, and I think the cover reflects that. So I think it's pretty good myself.
Let us
Brad.
know when the Brad's gone off to do something, probably to go and get Coke Zero. But let us know in the chats what you think of the album cover. It's certainly not as eye-catching, in my opinion, with Hackney Diamonds. Oh, Brad, you got an opinion on the album cover?
Look, it took me, it took me a bit of time to understand it, to be honest with you. I was like, why would you do that to an album cover? It's not my favorite Stones album cover, but it's not terrible. The artwork, the blending of them, I mean, it's a little bit strange to me, to be honest with you. But I guess, yeah, it's what they wanted to do. They enjoyed it.
I get where you're coming from. So these are some photos of the Stones with the release, obviously, of the album. Always looking cool, especially the man in the middle, isn't he? Looking dapper, Ronnie on the end there.
The Glimmer Twins.
There they are there again. Loving the limelight. Sorry about the production there on that photo. It's just ugly when I uploaded it. Didn't realise it was that bad, but there they are. Ronnie in the studio.
Yeah.
Keith in the studio.
Keith.
And Ronnie and Keith.
They look like they're having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope it's still fun for them. It seems like it. I mean, I would say this record, if the sound of it's anything to go by, they are having a lot of fun in the studio and a lot of fun creating it. So, long may it continue.
Yeah.
Great pics of the Stones from Helene. KMX Roxanne. Why didn't they do the regular lips and tongues? Yeah, interesting.
I agree.
Helene's exhausted. Sorry to hear, Helene. Get well.
Yes.
So the next track, boys, is Hit Me in the Head.
It is Hit Me in the Head.
Hit me Literally. In the head.
Literally.
Now, this is, again, thankful to social media and other Rolling Stones nuts to give you a bit of information. So this is the track that Charlie Watts left. Well, one of them, because apparently there's a ton of tracks, that they could have used, because the Rolling Stones, when they rehearse Simon and Brad, and it are well known for recording just about everything when they rehearse, and so that's nice. It's interesting. Not, I shouldn't say interesting. That's not the word. It's a generous nod back to one of the foundation members of their band. So I dig that, and it's good that the surviving Stones are doing that. This track's built around Charlie Watts, who is a central part clearly of the band. I dig the harp on this track, Simon. It's always good. It's a classic rocker, Brad. It's something that you would come to expect, from the Stones. It's a cool track. I've given it a solid 9 out of 10, and it's never a skip. Simon.
Yes, indeed. It's a 2 minutes 57 hard edge rock sound. That Stones thing that they do. As you say, some nice harp work from Mick, probably Mick, and some nice the solo. Starting with the double stops and then into the single note stuff at the end. That's pretty cool. Driven on by the drums and the bass. I think they're kind of, I've noticed that there's sort of bass playing and they're sort of there doing their stuff, aren't they? But they're not. Sometimes we comment on them more than others. I think we comment on the rhythm section less on this so far than we have on other records, but doing a job, holding it down, setting the tempos and things. I give it an 8 out of 10, but never a skip. I think it's one of the shorter, slighter tracks on the album, but it's a lot of some fun in the lyrics as well. Brad.
Yeah, I like this one. Hit Me in the Head. It's a little bit nasty, and I enjoy that. It's got an aggressive sort of punky edge to it. Even I love the fact that it's a short song. It's in and out. They're not mucking around. They get the job done. There's a good tie back to their past here with Charlie Watts playing on this one. Andrew, you mentioned in the introduction that was recorded in different stages. This would have been one of the songs recorded in 2021, maybe, I'm guessing. The drums sound really big on this song in comparison to most of the other tracks, in my opinion. They sound huge, like there's that real live element, which I really dig that. There's something wonderful about this song. It gives you that real Stones edge, but it's got a lot of modern feel to it. Charlie obviously gives it that unmistakable sort of sense of swing, where he's hitting the way Charlie hits, and he's got a certain swing, and you can feel that. And as much as everybody else in the band probably pick that up too, like when they're recording it. And I'd love to know whether this was a rehearsal that they just kept the basic tracks to and added to, or whether they just used his drum track and re-recorded all their parts. I'm not sure, but it's got a lot of attitude, and I really enjoy all the BVs from the band too. I think I can hear Keith in there, and I think I can hear Ronnie singing as well in the BVs, which they don't stand out as much in the previous songs, like the BVs, to me anyway. And I can really identify Keith in there and Ronnie, which is really cool. 10 out of 10, never a skip for me. Andrew.
Cool, boys. So now we're on to I'm No Good. And again, thank you to social media for alerting me to a little bit of background on this track. So apparently it's a cover of a Amy Winehouse song, Simon and Brad.
Winehouse, yep.
Winehouse, Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm not.
that's
Look,
back.
I'm familiar with Amy when she was talk of the town for a while. You know, a tragic figure passed away. Rest in peace, Amy. Look, it's a great song. I think the standout for me, Brad, on this track is the blistering harp. You know,
Oh yeah.
from from Mr. Jagger. You know, he's an incredible harp player. We got a couple of cool harp tracks on Hackney Diamonds, Simon. But also, you know, we got to remember, you know, Mick Jagger's harp playing goes right back to pretty much immediately after Brian Jones left the band. You know, somebody had to play harp, and
Mm.
it wasn't going to be any of the other guitar players, so it had to be, you know, Mick. And you know, I've always rated him as a harp player, and you know, he does an incredible job on this track. Having said that, though, you know, it's not a favorite track of mine. I've given it a solid. You know, I think initially I ranked it at 7, guys, but I'm going to give it because, you know, of, you know, poor Amy. I'm going to give it another point, so I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. Right, Professor.
Yeah, he's got that hard to handle drum intro at the beginning. I think I mean, I'm very familiar with the original, and I think they pick up on the groove of the original really well, but make it their own. There's some really nice guitar parts, some really nice trumpet and horn parts on it as well. There's a nice, as you said, Andrew, the heartbreak as well. But it's got a groove to it. The Stones can do a groove, absolutely, better than most. You know, and they know all about tempo, and they know all about, you know, what makes things groove, and I think they capture this really well. I think that it's nice guitar solos at the end. I gave this a 10 out of 10 and never a skip. I think this is it's a great song anyway, and they do it justice for me. Brad.
Just get my notes up. Got them here. You know I'm no good. It's a bit of a curveball, this one, really. I mean, and it's, you know, it's obviously they're not copying Amy's original version. They've turned it into their own thing, which is, you know, I think always a good thing when a band does a cover on their album. You know, make it your own. Don't try and make it sound like the original. It's always a recipe for disaster, I think. Um, it's a really clever choice for them. The Stones, you know, there's a lot going on here in the song, and I've mentioned obviously the harp playing. Andrew, like you said, mentioned about Jagger's playing. He's a phenomenal player, and it's definitely different for the Stones. And I was surprised. I never expected them to do an Amy Winehouse cover. I'll be honest with you, it was a bit of a surprise, being that you know, Amy was a younger songwriter than them, and it's I guess it's a little nod to Amy. They obviously, I think, was it Andrew Watt who decided they should cover this, or suggested it? I'm sorry.
Correct.
That's what I've got in
That's
my
cool.
notes here, and I think they did it justice, and I surprised, you know, that they did this, but I did it justice, and I gave it a 9 out of 10, guys, and never skip. Andrew.
Awesome. Ellen's given it a 10 out of 10.
Mhm.
And I don't know what track Helene is giving 9 out of 10, whether it's this track or the track that we've ranked before that.
No, she's giving it. She
Okay,
says, "You know I'm no good." 9 out of
it's
10.
9 out of 10. Cool. I can see that one there. So the previous track she gave a 9 out of 10 as well. So well done. Thanks, Helene. Good to see
Yeah.
you. Um, you know, one of the interesting things about a Rolling Stones album is, you're going to get a contribution vocally from Keith Richards. And I don't know about you guys, but I knew that there was going to be a Keith song on this album before, you know, you knew it was going to be there somewhere. And, you know, and I appreciate that. I've read a couple of comments online where people, and I don't know how entrenched these people are with following the career of the Rolling Stones or knowing anything about any of Keith's amazing, incredible solo albums, you know, Main Offender,
They're great.
you know, and Cross-Eyed Heart, you know, that came out roughly about 10 years ago. You know, I will give people a pass and say that his vocals are an acquired taste. I'll give you that. But what I particularly like about this track, and I think it comes down to the production guys, is that Keith's vocals, while they are honest, Simon, and aged and warm and worn, they come across really, really good. You know, there's been previous tracks that he's recorded, like on Cross-Eyed Heart, where he's quite edgy on his vocals. So you're not getting that. So I'm going to put that down to probably production, Brad and Simon. So correct me if I'm wrong. But, you know, that's a good thing, because clearly the producer is doing what the artists want. Or the producer is saying to the artist, this is what you're getting, because I'm the producer. So either way, someone won.
Either way, Andrew Watt won, yes.
Yes. And I'm a Keith Richards nut. You know, I've got my Telecaster over there to prove it.
Yes.
So anything that Keith does, has to be, Brad, 10 out of 10. Otherwise, St. Keith won't let me get into. Well, St. Peter won't let me get in because, you know, you've ranked Keith lower than 10.
Other scores are available. It's
yeah. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Absolutely. I mean, I agree. You've got to have an obligatory Keith song on a Stones album. You just have, haven't you? Especially if you've got whatever it's 14 tracks. One of them is going to be by Keith.
100%. Even if there's 4, one of them's going to be Keith.
One of them's going to be Keith. It's in the rules of the Stones. Yes. There will be a Keith Richards song of one description or another. And yeah, well, the first thing I say about it is that it's a really nice contrast. You know, because it's a ballad for starters, and I think as a song, it's a nice tremolo guitar at the beginning. You know, I because I'm a fan of, you know, someone like Tom Waits. I love Tom Waits. You know, and I think that sort of lived in, Andrew, as you said, that kind of lived in, worn but warm vocal thing, that kind of half singing, half speaking style. I love that, and I think it gives it tremendous character. You know, yes, he's not the greatest singer in the world, but he can put it across. You know, he's learned how to put across, you know, the emotions of the song.
Doesn't pretend to be, Simon.
No, that's right, you know.
Yep.
And so I feel very, very affected by this as you said, it's got a really nice tune to it. You know, he's got enough still about his vocals to go up when he sings the title of the song. I think, you know, within his range. The solo is melodic solo, simple but really nice, really lovely solo. And and Mick has joining in, backing Keith towards the end, keeping it Stonesy. But yeah, you know, I think some really nice piano and organ playing on it as well. Gives it a different vibe, a different, my old friend Gerard, from the Blue Airplanes, he always used to have a song by one of the other players. Rodney would always have a Rodney song on, or a song by another member of the band, to kind of break it up, break up the always have, and this completely is the same effect for me. I give it a 9 out of 10. Never a skip from me. I think it's a great contrast and a lovely track. Brad.
Yeah, I'm a Keith fan, and I always look forward to hearing the Keith song on a Stones record. It's always one of those ones that you're going to get Keith. You're going to get his vocal. Exactly what it's going to be. Genuinely got a little bit sort of goosebumpy listening to this for the first time, because his voice has obviously changed enormously over the decades, but I think that's why it works. I think, in this song, it really works. There's no attempt to disguise his age. You mentioned something about his voice sounding lived in, Simon, and yeah, it's lived in, all right. It sounds it, and it really suits the song. I think I read somewhere that the song apparently dates back decades. I'm not sure. I almost feel like Keith is, really sort of opening an old diary and finally finishing maybe his thoughts on this song. Maybe, the older he gets, the more he wants to finish off things that he's got in the bag.
Good point.
I think this one is a pretty powerful song, because it's, especially with them all getting older, there's a bit of vulnerability in this song, and it shines through, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 10 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Andrew.
Thank you, boys. And again, thank you for the rankings and the track. Alan's given it 10 plus. And Helene's, good album, but it's not her fave. And we can talk about that at the end, and I'm not going to argue with that. It's a good album. It's not my fave either, but I'm glad that we're talking about the Stones in a contemporary sense, which is always a feat and a feature, as the rock professor aptly pointed out on this channel, when we can do that, because we're literally stuck in the past here.
Rather too much, yes.
Rather. Covered in You is the next track, folks. And again, we mentioned it earlier before. If we didn't know Paul McCartney was playing bass on this track, we wouldn't know that it was Paul McCartney, old Macca, who at the top of the show we mentioned was involved in a concert on this day 60 years ago at Candlestick Park. So, and Paul McCartney's been, along with the Rolling Stones, a big component of this channel as well. So we want to do a shout out to Sir Paul McCartney and thank you for your contribution. And good to see you hanging out with your mates, the Rolling Stones, because, again, if you're not aware of this, if you're watching it on replay, the Rolling Stones and the Beatles hung out. They shared stuff. They were in competition with each other, but they talked and they smoked and they drank together, and they were in tune with what each band was doing. So there was a connection, Brad, and we love that. We love that fact. What I dig about this track, besides Macca being on bass, if you can work it out, is Simon. We get a rap. We get Mick rapping on this track, doing a bit of a rap in between the vocals and the choruses, which is pretty good. I dig this track. We spoke about a couple of tracks earlier about the Rolling Stones not being frightened to talk about current affairs or political issues. This is one of the tracks where they talk about unelected global elites and the political corruption that goes along with that, which is, always going to be a topic of conversation if you are interested in global events and geopolitical things, I am. So the fact that the Stones are talking about that, all credit to them. They're alerting people to the fact that it does exist. Don't close your eyes to it. I'm giving this a solid 9 out of 10. It's a cool track. Covered in You, Rock Professor.
Yeah, again, it starts off with that kind of vaguely acoustic thing that's sort of following on from there's a link from the previous track, but then it goes into kind of what I've called an 80s type riff a la Undercover kind of thing, which is, again, another kind of Stones political song, isn't it, Undercover? So it's right in that territory. Great chopped guitars playing a sort of call and response between the two, like Undercover. Again, the chorus, a melodic contrast to the verse, with the piano in. It's nice. And as you said, Andrew, that kind of semi-rapping thing that Mick's doing on. Nice harp solo as well. And then you got towards the end a drop down to the vocals of the piano just to end it all. Yeah, good rocking track. 8.5 out of 10 for me, but never a skip. Brad.
Covered in You. I mean, like you said, Andrew, you wouldn't know it's Paul McCartney on bass here. He just, interestingly, he just sort of sits in and becomes part of the machinery that is the Stones. He's not really trying to stand out and look, Paul McCartney, I'm here, I'm playing bass. He's not doing that. He's just doing his job. And that's exactly how it should be. I think the arrangement gives it, a bit of warmth. That there's that contrast, and Simon, you mentioned between the verses and the choruses there. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of restraint going on by every member in this song, and I like that. I like that sort of holding back thing going on that each member's doing in this song. I think it's a great song. I'm not going to sort of copy everything you guys have said and repeat everything you've said already, but I thought it was a really cool song. I kind of thought it sounded like it would have fit comfortably on Black and Blue, maybe on this sort of the vibe of the song. I gave it 9 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Andrew.
Thanks, boys. And, thanks, everybody, for holding in there with us. It's 14 tracks. I know. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. Yeah. So, Side Effects is the next track. Steve Winwood on keys. The Rock Professor mentioned that. And at the start of the show, I mentioned the long list of contributors to this. And, Steve Winwood doesn't have a tone attributed to playing keys, which it's pretty hard to, I suppose. He's no Jack Lord, John Lord, is he? Where he's turned up playing through Marshall's, Brad. We're not getting that. We're not getting any Greg Orman, doing the same thing through Leslie's, So he's providing, as Rock Professor said a few tracks earlier, one of those key components that the Rolling Stones need when they play, and that's keys. So, all credit to Steve Winwood. Good to see that he's branching out and hanging out with the Stones and doing something with them. Look, we mentioned also, you can't mention, there's always that classic Ronnie and Keith guitar weaving. You get that on this track for me. Another good example of it. And again, it's a commentary. It's not political, but it's a commentary on, people having toxic hangovers, because they've survived obsessive relationships. And, yeah, Mick Jagger would know about that, wouldn't he? He's had a few. So he's probably singing from first-hand experience, Brad and Simon, so we've got to give him credit there. Look, it's a good track. Not doing much for me, guys. Solid 8 out of 10. Rock Professor.
Yeah, it's funny that is that it's a. I thought it was a bit of a dig at Keith, actually.
Oh, could be.
There's a price to pay for everything. Everything you put in your veins, I pay. Oh, okay, Mick. There's a lot of, how many pills I've taken and how much drinking I've done. I don't know if that's directed at himself or has he taken a swipe? If you've taken better care of yourself with that, or it's just a play on the what kind of world are we leaving Keith Richards meme, isn't it? Slightly, but again, it's as you said, it starts with that angular little single note melody that's kind of not very Stonesy. It's very sort of more modern rock, I would say. And then the band comes in with a kind of more rising chord sequence. But yeah, that little single note melody singles it out as being something different. Double track vocals, nice big sound, as you said, Andrew. The jangly guitars in the chorus is great. Nice backing vocals too. And I think they're always doing backing vocals, aren't they? The Stones. It's always standing around Andrew Watt, Keith, and all standing around a microphone doing their stuff. Nice solo as well. You've got kind of again another melodic, clean solo. It's not very it's not driven. It's not kind of distorted. It's not kind of it's kind of that sticking with that clean sound that they do. I gave it a 9 out of 10 and never skip. Yeah, cool track. Brad.
Side Effects. It's a hard rocker. It's got Steve Jordan. I'm assuming it's Steve Jordan on drums on this one. He's really hammering the drums here, and pushes the song. Keith and Ronnie, they got that real chimey sort of guitar stuff going on. They're really chuggy and chimey, and it's rhythmical. It's very cool. There's something about the production here. It's contemporary, but it's underneath it. It's still got that Stonesy feel, and I love that. You can really tell, that Keith and Ronnie are enjoying this one. Guitar-wise, they're intertwining the guitar parts. These guys still have it, and they're still convincing, and they're making a convincing record here. The guitars, the drums, the guitar solo is great, and I think it's a great song. I gave it a 9 out of 10, guys, and never skip. Andrew.
Cheers, guys. Thank you for hanging in there. So we're up to Back in Your Life. One of the great things about the Rolling Stones over the years is they've been able to do incredible ballads. Sister Morphine, Simon, Winter, Memory Motel, just incredible ballads. And this track, Back in Your Life, it's in that vein of good ballads. So I wouldn't say that this track's incredible. You've mentioned Steve Jordan, Brad, on the track previous. He does an incredible job on the drums on this track. He does a great job. And again, we've got Steve Winwood contributing to this song. But for me, I can't put my finger on it. It does a great job. I don't know what's missing, but whatever's missing doesn't work. It's not a 10 out of 10 for me. It's not a 9 out of 10 for me. It's an adequate 8. It's a good ballad, but just doesn't have that key ingredient, Simon, that I can't put my finger on. Maybe you can tell me what my finger's missing.
Well,
Simon,
he's frozen.
is he frozen?
I think he's frozen.
He's not limbo dancing.
Who, me?
Simon. Yes.
No. Sorry, I was just reading something. Sorry. Over here reading something. It's is it my turn?
Yes,
It is,
back in your life.
Oh well, yeah. Well, it's again another ballad, isn't it? Another sort of acoustics, 2 electrics, nice bass and drums coming in on the 3rd line of the verse. Very restrained. I like the restraints. Gives a contrast to what we've had before. Nice meshing of the acoustics and electrics together. Quite a jazzy solo as well, the clean melodic jazzy solo. And I like the fact that Mick says, "Come on, Ronnie, your turn to come in with the second guitar solo, punchy, melodic, driven, and some nice singing over the full horns, full backing, including the horns, so it kind of builds up nicely, and that nice guitar solo over the fade at the end. Yeah, I think it's important that the contrasts on this record, and this is a really good contrast to what we've had before, with a much more restrained feel. 9 out of 10 from me, never a skip.
Yeah, back in your life. I mean, it's a 6-minute plus song, and some of the shorter songs on here, this one has a bit more room to breathe because it's not trying to cram it all in one song in a short, context of under 4 minute songs, which I'm finding that's a common theme. It's a genuine ballad. It doesn't, become too syrupy or anything like that. The sax, the horns, broadens the arrangement. Ronnie gets one of the album's standout guitar moments, I think. And the extended arrangement and Wood's emotional solo, makes this track for me. It's, Jagger sounds like he's pretending to be vulnerable on this, older Mick being vulnerable. And, I'm hearing old school. I mean, it's got an emotional weight to it. It's not in the same league as Angie or, any of those sort of ballady ones that, Sister Morphine or anything like that. It's not in the same vein as that. But in the context of this album, I gave it a 9 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, well done. Maybe I was a little bit too harsh in with my 8.
No.
Maybe a little bit too harsh.
No, it's still fairly new to us all too, Andrew, this album, so.
Yeah. I agree. As opposed to other Stones albums, which we've been listening to for years.
Stick by them.
So, boys, I didn't do the bonus track. I just stopped ranking on the official. So this is the last track. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful Delilah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I stopped here as well.
Okay. Yep. So, boy, I was blown away when I got to this track. I was blown away by how incredibly powerful this track was. Or is. It's a Chuck Berry song, and again, the Stones open up with a reference to Muddy Waters, and they close again, Brad and Simon, with a reference to Chuck Berry, who is probably one of the most single influential guitar players in Keith Richards' life, and we've talked about that many times, how they've hung out with each other over the years and argued and fought and attacked each other physically over the years to the point where, they were still talking in the end. I love that. This is one of Mick Jagger's best vocals on this album. It's on this track. I love the resonator guitars, Brad. I love that acoustic feel. I'm convinced that the Rolling Stones, they've done that unplugged album that we've ranked here on the album that came up what, 1994. Do you remember that one?
Yep.
And I would love the Stones to do another album like that. After listening to this track, I think they would be incredible. And especially seeing Ronnie and Keith do that 6-set gig, that was on social media a few weeks ago, and watching Mick play that hummingbird. Boy, that guy can play a guitar, can't he? Jeez. So just imagine him, Keith, and Ronnie doing an acoustic album together. I think it could get them a number one. I just think this track, I've given this track a Brad score, and I'm so glad that they've ended this album with this track, because to me it's everything that the Rolling Stones are, in essence.
Yeah.
Simon.
Yeah, the first thing I wrote is Back to the Beginning. Because, of course, their first single was a Chuck Berry song, Come On. Was it 55, 60 years later? They're doing this kind of, sounds very kind of live in the studio, lo-fi, kind of going back almost to their skiffle roots. Almost, I got overtones of skiffle on. I listened to the Chuck Berry original, which is again, yes, not, which is pretty like this. It's a bit more electric, but it still has that kind of skiffle feel. Nice slide playing. I mean, the drums is just brushes, isn't it? It's just very basic stuff, and a little bit of bass, but that feels to me like they're sort of goofing around in the studio. Somebody's started off something, they've joined in, recorded it, and there's a lot of, so that laugh at the end, is kind of, very joyful laugh. You think, yeah, they've just set up and just rattled through this, haven't they, as a sort of, and then stuck it on the end. I gave it a 9 out of 10, but never a skip. It's a fantastic version, and as I say, I like the loop back to the beginning of their career as well. Brad.
Simon, I think you've read my notes, unfortunately, so I'm not going to repeat them.
Sorry.
But I just put here, this is basically the Stones returning to the source and the beginning. And the Stones have always, there's always been a bridge between American blues, R&B, rock and roll, and the generations that followed. Ending the Stones album with this is like a full circle moment. I put it's not reinventing anything here. They're just having fun, and this, they're supposed to be reminding us, like at this point in their career, this is where it all started for them, and I think initially when I listened to this record, and it seemed to take forever to get to the last song, because I was listening to every song like intently and trying to really take all my notes in. But then when this one came on, it was very fun for me to hear them performing like this. And not every single one of their albums ended with a fun little ditty or whatever, but from what I remember, a lot of the Stones records ended with something similar, like something very off the cuff, probably recorded in the studio live, and they just threw it on as a bonus sort of thing. And it does feel that way for me with this. And without sort of waffling on anymore, I gave it I originally gave it an 8 out of 10, but I sort of gave it a 9.5 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Andrew.
That's it, boys.
Yeah.
That's the album. So before I pass it over to you guys to make some conclusions, I've listened to this album a few times. Not a lot, but a few times. It's a great album. Talk to me in a couple of years' time and I'll give you a couple of years' time's experience with it. I've listened to Hackney Diamonds. When Hackney Diamonds first came out, I listened to that the whole summer. You know, it was the album of my summer a couple of years ago. I remember just being blown away by it. And we're coming up to summer, Brad, in this part of the world.
Yeah.
If you're asking me, would this album be on my summer list? Probably not. Which is honest and truthful. I might take a couple of songs off this and create a playlist, which is something that I like, to do. But I'm also an album person as well.
Yeah.
It's too long. It's 14, 15 songs if you want to include the bonus track. And I think this album could have been a great album if it was 10 tracks. I'm not going to tell you what the tracks should be taken off.
That's hard, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. That's another show in itself. But I'm adamant. It's my opinion. Again, it's only my opinion, but I'm adamant that 14 tracks is just too long. 10 tracks, sweet. Simon.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. That's one of the things that struck me is that, as I say, I think that there is a great 10-track album in here, and I'm not. As last week we did 7 tracks, Jeff Beck, 7 tracks, 35 minutes. I didn't feel shortchanged by that. I didn't feel like it was
not at all.
Somehow he cheated us out of 5 minutes or whatever. And whilst I think that all the songs on here are strong, they're absolutely strong, and I've enjoyed listening to it. As you say, 62 and a half minutes for 14 tracks. I think this is where the producer should, needs to sort of take something and say, right, where are the 10 tracks? The 10 tracks that you really think this is going to make an ace Rolling Stones record. And I think it's probably in there. I agree with Adrian. I had a bit of a think about it, only a bit, and decided that coming up with some 10 tracks would be quite difficult. But I'm sure they could have done it, and I think it would have been better for it. 10 tracks would have been better for it myself. But I think I've really enjoyed listening to it. I've enjoyed listening to the whole thing. As you know, I drive around in my car quite a lot. I would say that that the guest appearances have been largely invisible to me. I mean, Bruno Mars played a cowbell on track 7. Yeah, well, you could have fooled me. Not that difficult to do. But so I think they're a bit by the by, to be honest. But I mean, I could tell that Paul McCartney was playing bass on one track and things. I think that I think it's interesting that they've had Steve Winwood as being the major keyboard player on the whole album. Might have had a bit more to do, to be honest, but I couldn't really. But yes, as I say, and but I think that's fine. I think that's about them having fun in the studio, inviting people, inviting your mates, inviting people, but keeping it Stones, keeping it absolutely the Stones. So that would be my criticism. Really, is that if there's a single album in here that would be just fine, thanks. 10, 11 tracks, whatever. It doesn't need to be 15 tracks, and it doesn't need to be an hour. Too much. But a good album. Brad.
Yeah. Look, I really enjoyed the album, and the thing I enjoyed the most about it, it's not like they're trying to make another. They're not pretending to be 30. You know what I mean? They're just writing an album and recording an album based on where they're at. And I like that. And I think that's something, you know, they've been around for many decades now, and we need to understand that then it would have been, they wouldn't have been able to pull off an album where they were trying to be another Exile on Main Street, in my opinion. It wouldn't have worked. And what they've done is more interesting in a sense, because you know it makes sense that they've made a record like this because they still have something they want to say instead of trying to relive the past and do something that they've done. As for the length of the record, I tend to agree, but I do kind of see a lot of new records coming out these days that are very long, and I mean that's that CD format thing. But I do agree. I reckon 10, maybe 10 to 12 max tracks would have been perfect. But other than that, I think it was just it's the three remaining members getting together, and they still have things they want to say, and they're doing it. So well done to them. I mean, it's a. I think in give it another 10 years time, we'll be listening to this and saying it's got some classic moments on it.
Oh, 100%, bro.
Just
100%. Yeah, I look forward
just
to
as
that.
a contrast, Brad. As a contrast, Hackney Diamonds has 12 tracks on it, 48 minutes. Interestingly, it ends with them doing Rolling Stone Blues by Muddy Waters. So it ends with them doing a sort of old blues cover, which is, this one they're doing Chuck Berry on the end. But yeah, I think that 48 minutes and 12 tracks is a better length than 62 minutes and 15 tracks.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
So there's one point that before we shoot off, because I'm looking at the time, boys, we just hit the 2-hour mark, and I appreciate your time. I know that everybody's got something to do. So I'm part of a few Facebook forums and Facebook groups that talk about the Rolling Stones, and one of the things that have been discussed by apparently people in the know, as you would expect with the Rolling Stones getting older, their time that they have now, they don't have the time that they used to spend, Brad and Simon, in the studio that they did, say, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, where they would literally spend hours in the studio. So Andrew Watt has got a huge responsibility given to him by the Rolling Stones, to do a lot of the production work without the Stones' direct involvement that they would have been doing themselves, Simon, that they've done on previous albums. So that kind of makes sense, because these guys are older now, so they're not going to spend 12 hours in the studio having 2 bottles of whiskey, half a dozen joints, and a couple of
hey,
that makes sense.
And the comment that was made a couple of days ago was, maybe this is one of the reasons why this album is so long, because of the producers, pushing it to the max. And we can't prove that, but it's it's a good observation. It's a good observation to bring up, but I dig that. Thank you, boys, for allowing us to be contemporary, and up with the play, and in the groove, as they say, up with what's happening. Simon, when was the last time, Simon, you've been up where it's happening musically
with the kids, baby?
Okay. Well. Now you can go and say to them, "Well, I'm actually hip in the groove with something."
Down with the kids. Yeah, new releases. Yes. Well, sometimes we do new releases.
And Brad, you can go say to your boy, I'm hip, bro.
We're on it. We're all about it.
Thank you, Ellen, for the kind words and the incredible support you give us. So the Rock Professor has the pick for next week, and as ever, if you want to find out, if he hasn't already got it and he wants to let us know, but hit the notification button, and we'll put a show card up, and we'll be talking about that next week. Brad, I know you've got people to feed and tummies to fill, so we're going to let you go, bro.
Yes. Yes.
I
Thanks for
don't
your
think
time.
he's feeding them. I think he's being fed.
Yeah, oh, okay. Oh, happy birthday, Jackie.
Yes. Happy birthday,
Yes.
Jackie.
Happy birthday, Jack. Yes.
Happy
We nearly
birthday,
forgot.
Jackie. So I passed on, I snuck her a message on Instagram, Brad, and wished her, and thank you guys for sharing those incredible pics and photos. Yeah, it's a great time. So you go and give her a cuddle from me and a kiss from the Rock Professor.
No problem.
Oh, thanks. Throw me under the bus. Thanks.
No worries, boys. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right.
Are we out of here?
Take care, everyone. Have a great week. I'll see you next week for more of this nonsense. Take it away, boss.